All right. So yesterday in class, we read an article about do people really change? And remember, the article was about these big five traits that all people share. Remember, they were openness to experience, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and emotional stability. And as we continued reading the article, there's been some research that has proven that as we grow older, we actually improve usually three of these five different traits based on who we are, who our personality is. So it's been proven that we do actually change our personality as we grow older, which was the central idea of the passage. So today we're going to build from that nonfiction article, and we're going to look at a prompt, a writing prompt based on that text, and we're going to practice breaking it down so we know exactly what is being asked of us when it's time to write our short little essay, okay? So we're going to do this part digitally today. You could have this assignment pulled up in a separate tab, and you could split screen this video with your copy of this article, or you could toggle back and forth if you're not sure how to split screen between a video and a document. So I want you to pause the video now to make sure that you have your copy pulled up either in another tab, or if you could split screen this video with a tab and then come back when you're ready. Okay, so breaking down a prompt is the topic of this lesson. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. So in this lesson, you're going to learn about the big five traits and reference them as you write about your own personality. And then you're also going to learn to break down a prompt by reading it carefully and making a list of all of its requirements. And I just want to remind you, when you write your TDA, which is part of your South Carolina Ready test, you will get a prompt, and I want you to be able to break down that prompt so you know exactly what it is that's being expected of you. And so today we're going to practice that. So part one is just reviewing the big five traits. So the first one is openness to new experiences. And what does it mean? It means that you try new things. Signs that someone has this trait is they always have a new hobby. And then what I want you to do is type in a person I know with this trait is, and it could be yourself, it could be a friend that you know, a relative. Think of someone in your life that you know always has some sort of a hobby that they're working on. Pause the video to type that in, and then we'll come back to the second trait. All right, the second trait is this big word is called conscientiousness. And basically, that is someone who is responsible. Okay, they do what they're supposed to do without usually being told or reminded. And so, signs that someone has this trait is they never miss a homework assignment, or they never miss to forget doing a chore. So, think about someone that you might know. It could be yourself, it could be a brother or sister, it could be parents, it could be someone that you know at school. And I want you to write their name in this second box. Pause the video until you type that in. The third big five personality trait is extroversion. And what it means is people who enjoy being social. Sometimes these people are called the life of the party. Um, so I'm not necessarily an extroverted person. I'm more of an introverted person. I still, have friends and I'm sociable, but I'm not someone who is just way out there. And, everybody knows, and you're kind of, like they say, the life of the party. But you probably know someone in your life. Maybe you're that person. You could write your name there. Or if not, maybe you know someone who is like that, who's very extroverted. Go ahead and type a name in that third box. The fourth big five trait is agreeableness. Agreeableness are people that pretty much get along with everyone. Okay, they get along with others. And signs that someone has this trait is they almost never get into arguments with anyone. They're able to smooth things out and to compromise so that they don't get into arguments. Maybe this is you. You could put your name here, or maybe you know someone who's like this, someone who's very agreeable. Type a name in that box, and then we're going to look at that final trait. It's called emotional stability. Stability means it kind of stays the same. So think about people who pretty much don't get really angry or really sad. Their emotions are pretty stable and the same all the time. They're calm and they're collected. Signs that someone has this trait is you never really see them get really anxious or angry. So think about someone who shows this trait. Again, this could be yourself or a friend, a family member, someone that you know that is pretty calm and collected all the time. Pause the video and make sure that you have a name in each of these boxes, and then we're going to move on to part 2. All right, part 2, discussing the big 5 traits. So I want you to think, we're not going to discuss this as a class since we're doing this individually today, but I want you to answer these questions kind of in your head. Who is someone you know who shows a big 5 trait? And you can kind of go back up to your chart, look at the names of the people that you wrote down, and think about who those people are that show those big 5 traits. The second bullet is what evidence supports your answer. Now, when you write, you always have to have evidence to back up your opinion. So go back up and think about these people and how do you know the person that you chose, for example, that's conscientious? How do you know this person is conscientious? What evidence can you prove? Maybe you see that they always turn their homework in every day. They study for tests. They're always checking PowerSchool. They're on top of their grades. Maybe those are some examples or evidence for that person showing conscientiousness. I'm going to pause the video so you can think about that. Think about the people you chose and ask yourself, well, how do I know these people have this trait? What evidence can I share? And then the third bullet asks, which trait do you show the most? Okay, there's 2 parts to this. So go back up. Maybe you've already put your name down for a couple. Try to think of which trait you think is the strongest for yourself. Is it open to new experiences, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, or is it emotional stability? And try to pick one. And then the second part is which trait do you wish you had more of? So go back up to those traits. I want you to pick the one that you wish you had more of. And let's see, I'm going to do this for myself. I think I'm very conscientious. I think that's my strength. Let's see. I wish I had more openness to new experiences. I wish I would try new things. Most of the time, it's because I just don't have enough time to do new things because I'm so busy. But that is something that I would like to improve because I'm a lifelong learner and I really like to try new things. So for me, my strength is conscientiousness, but I'd like to improve openness to new experiences. Pause the video and think about yourself. Which one is your strength and which one would you like to improve? And finally, the third part, now that we've kind of gotten ourselves prepared, we're going to learn how to break down a prompt. Okay, prompt is just the writing question. So the directions say, review the notes on breaking down a prompt. They're right below us. And then break down today's prompt. So let's look at the notes. Notes on breaking down a prompt. So when you're reading a prompt, we always, first, we read it very carefully. Now, I tell my students to read it 2 or 3 times. Read it very carefully, and then as you're reading, identify everything the prompt is asking you to do, what it requires, because it's usually more than one thing. So try to figure out all the different things the prompt is requiring you to do. And then I want you to make a list of the prompt's requirements. What are those things the question is asking you to do? So here's today's prompt. Here's the big question. Everyone's personality is unique. Describe your personality using at least 2 of the big 5 traits. And then they relisted those traits right here for you. Openness to new experiences, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and emotional stability. So in your response, in your short essay, make sure to share a trait you would like to change. Support your answer using evidence from your own life. So you need to describe your personality using at least two of these big 5 traits. And then in your response, make sure you share a trait you would like to change. So let's make a list of the prompt's requirements. This is where we're going to type, okay? So the prompt is asking you to do basically 3 different things, and I'm just going to double check down here. There. So I'm just making sure we have the 3 things. So the first thing it's asking you to do, if you go back up to the top, it says describe your personality using at least 2 traits. So we're going to put number 1, describe your personality using 2 of the big 5 traits. So we're going to have to use at least 2 traits, okay? The second thing it's asking you to do is to discuss a trait that you would like to change, okay? So think of that one trait, you already thought about this, that you would like to improve or change. And then number 3, the third part, down here it says you need to use evidence. So that's the third thing that this prompt is asking you. Use evidence from your own life to support your answers. Okay, gotta have that evidence to support your thinking. That's very important. So if it were me, since I've already identified my strength and the one that I would like to grow, I think those are the 2 I would talk about. So I'm going to talk about how I'm a very conscientious person. I'm going to describe why I think so using evidence from my life. And then I'm going to talk about this trait up here, openness to new experiences. I'm going to talk about what it is I would like to improve so that I can strengthen that personality trait and explain with reasons from my own life. That way, I'm covering all 3 parts. I'm talking about 2 traits. I'm discussing one I'd like to change, and I'm using evidence from my life to support the answers. That's how you break down a prompt. You look at every single piece that's being asked of you. The last thing you're going to do is you're going to check your work. Underneath where we listed the 3 parts, this is where you are going to, I'm looking for where you're supposed to type this. I think I just want you to type it underneath those 3 parts. That's a good way for you to keep checking to make sure you have everything in your paragraph. So this is where I want you to write your paragraph, making sure you hit all 3 things. And then when you're done, you need to check your paragraph by highlighting. So when you're done with your paragraph, I want you to go back and I want you to highlight in green where you described your personality using the big 5 traits. Okay, you're going to highlight the 2 traits that you were talking about in green. Then you're going to highlight in yellow where you supported your argument with evidence from your own life. So anything that's evidence, you're going to highlight in yellow. And then make sure that you highlight in red where you shared the trait you would like to change. Okay, so you might have a trait that's green and red. If you have a trait that you shared, it's one of your 2 traits, but it's actually one that you want to change, just go ahead and highlight that one in red. That way I'll know that's the trait that you want to change. So you're going to go back up to this box, type your paragraph, okay? And then make sure that you do your highlighting to make sure that you've answered every part of the question.
Good morning, Crawford School.
Just in time. We're going to end this video now.
Caroline Caldwell from Team 3 with